ॐ वक्रतुण्डमहाकाय सूर्यकोटिसमप्रभ निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा। सरस्वति नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणि विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. So today is the second of the series of sessions we have planned on the topic of fulfillment. I will assume that all of you have, or each of you has either attended the last session or has seen the recorded video of the last session. The reason being, this is not a casual discussion. We are developing the subject systematically. And so, as they say, there is a method in the madness, right? And so, there is a method, I assure you. For now, you'll have to trust me. And so, in the last session, what we did was we we began an entry into this topic by comparing ourselves to animals, comparing human beings and animals, as though we had nothing better to do, right? And what do you mean? I know how different I am from animals. Yeah, we know. Superficially, we know. We may know well also, but there's a message in there for us. What is a message? Okay. For an animal, what is fulfillment, if you ask? The only thing we can come up with is an animal grows physically, okay? Physically grows and to a point where the animal is mature enough to reproduce, have her own children, offspring, okay? And after that, what? Well, bring up the children if that's how that animal is programmed. And after that, what? After that, nothing. The children walk away from the homes, just like our children walk away from our homes. And that's it. Beyond that, there's nothing more to accomplish for this animal, right? An animal's fulfillment lies in its physical maturity. No animal feels orphaned. No animal starts an association called the bald citizens of America, something like that. No, there's no association they're looking for. They are not looking for approval or recognition. Nothing. Just life moves on. No ado at all as compared to the human being. For the human being, physical accomplishment, physical maturity is not a goal at all. You can't say, hey, you're having children, so therefore, and your children are growing up, therefore you must be fulfilled. No, no. It's not, it doesn't work like that. In fact, I had children. I was happy until I had children. I was happy until my children grew up. Now they are all grown up. Now our relationship is so bad that I don't know where I am. Okay, that problem happens, can happen. Therefore, we can see that our idea of fulfillment is entirely different. It's in an entirely different area. There is an emotional fulfillment also that human beings need. And so that was the message of the last session. And in fact, we can even say animals contribute, or humans contribute, or both contribute. Well, humans are supposed to contribute to the ecology, to the world, okay, to whatever is happening. They're supposed to contribute. They have the ability to contribute. Animals, yeah, they do contribute to the ecology. In fact, science tells us that the more species that are getting, what do you call it, extinct, the worse off the ecology is. They're saying species are getting extinct at a fast rate. Aquatic species, terrestrial species, and whatnot. Okay. So who's doing that? We are doing that. Okay. But the animals are needed for the ecology to be healthy. Okay. What a symbiotic relationship there is that science is telling us. They say even ants have a place in this ecology. They say if you kill all the ants, in 50 years, the world will disappear. The world as you and I know it will not exist. That's the role of ants in this ecology, even though it's just a minute, small species that you can just look at and say, you know what? What's the use of this ant? So you and I may not know the use of that ant, but the ant has a role to play. That's what science tells us. So that's how we entered into this discussion, and the reason we are developing it slowly is because fulfillment is such an important entity in my life. I can have every material thing in this world and still not feel fulfilled. And nobody ever told me anything about this all along. I've spent my last 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years on so many things, but this one thing that I should have known at least 10 years back, at least 20 years back, at least 5 years back, I should have known. Nobody told me anything. And so we are not sorry for it. If things are the way they are, and so we are here to explore it. And there is in our tradition there is a very systematic way of going about it. And so I'm just sharing what I know. Okay, and so suppose we ask the question: 2 generations ago, 50 years ago, 60 years ago, 70 years ago, 100 years ago, how was life? Where how did people perceive life? How did people go about their life when the healthcare was was very very backward, when communication didn't exist, telephones did not exist. During my parents time, telephones did not exist, and they were living in villages, and there was no communication at all. Communication means what? Somebody would visit from a different village, from a city or village, and all people in this village will gather around this person. Do you know why? Because this guy has a lot of news to tell us. There's no radio, there's no TV, there's no telephone. Where are you going to get the news from? Only if somebody walks in, that person is going to bring the news. He or she is the messenger. They all gather around for days, and then he'll tell us stories about this village, that village, this happened, their family, this happened, that happened. So much, so many things. No newspapers. Okay. And there's a lot of excitement. when somebody comes like that. Okay. And they used to talk about courier pigeons those days, right? Courier pigeons means if you want to communicate, they used to use these pigeons to somehow train them to go throw this message out there to the other king. I'm curious how those things used to happen. Nobody talks about courier pigeons now. And then came all these telex and telegram, and then television, radio. Before television, there was radio. So we could hear some news. Until then, what happens in the other side of the world, nobody knows. So there's a cyclone that's there in the eastern coast of India. All of you knew it. Why? Even though you are so many miles away from here, 100 miles away, 500 miles away, 1,000 miles away, 10,000 miles away. Still, you knew it. That's because of communication. But then, you know what? You get information instantly, but there is a price to pay for all this instant information. Do you know what the price is? The price is you have to respond to it. You have to respond to it. You have to say, you may like it, you may hate it, you may be afraid of it, it may make you insecure, it may make you secure, but you have to respond. You have to respond. You can't just keep quiet. You can say, I don't care. But when I say I don't care, it may mean I care a lot. It may mean I care a lot, right? I care so much about it that I'm so helpless that it's better I don't care about it. What can I do? What can I do about the cyclone that's hitting India where my relatives are all there? What can I do? Nothing. I can't do anything. Those days, they never knew anything. They did not have to respond to something like that. They won't even know if something happened to their family. But today, it's not like that. We have to respond. Every situation just just comes to me like that. Comes to me. Okay. And they say today, we are all learning from WhatsApp University. Have you heard that phrase, WhatsApp University? Yeah, recently I heard that. I found that to be very interesting. And that's the truth. You get up in the morning, people reach out for their phone, WhatsApp. But caution, we have to respond. When you see a message, you have to respond. Respond means what? Mentally, you have to have something. You have to say, at least I must say, I don't care. To that extent, I must respond. And so there is that barrage of information, and you have to respond. They say they say that another big pandemic is going to come. What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? A pandemic that is 10 times more severe than COVID. What is this? This doesn't make me happy, doesn't make any of us happy. And what am I supposed to do something? No, no, no. You don't do nothing. Just be aware of it. Just be aware of it. That's it. And just be happy or be sad. That's up to you. That's up to you. You can be sad or you can be happy. They say US, there's a big recession looming in the horizon. What? Because so what am I supposed to do? I don't know. That's up to you. That's up to you. So so we're now look at that. Those days, these problems were never existing. They in India, they probably knew that there was a country called America or Canada, but it's just a country. Just a country. People are living there. Let them live happily. We will say, Sarve bhavantu sukhinaha. Let everybody, whoever they are, wherever they are, let them live happily. That will be our prayer. Okay. Whatever happens, we are not going to know about it. For years, we won't know about information. But today, it's not like that. That's why today, I suppose they say, no news is good news. Why? Why is no news good news? Really? Why is no news good news? See, suppose I have a chronic headache, or suppose we're just living a life and there is some problem, and the doctor checks me out, and the doctor says, "You know what? I'm so happy you came here now, because if you had delayed even a couple of weeks, this would have gone to the next stage. Now that you've come, we can solve the problem." Suppose the doctor says that. That means what? All along, no news, good news? No, sometimes news is good news. Sometimes discovering the problem early enough is good news. Okay, even though I may not like it, better identify the problem. And so, previously no news, now no news is good news. Okay, so that's how life has changed. And just trying to give some, not that you don't know any of these things, but this idea of fulfillment, how constrained it has become, how there are a lot of forces out there. My parents won't understand certain things I talk about. I never heard the word stress in those days when I was a young boy going to school. They never talked about stress, even though there were some anxious moments. Anxious moments are there, but somehow it seemed like they never internalized it. Somehow they didn't seem like they had an existential crisis. Somehow I've never seen that kind of things in that generation. And today, our boys and girls, they are going to WhatsApp, they're going to social media, and they are measuring themselves on the number of likes on their Facebook post. Just imagine. Just imagine the life of this girl or this boy who gets up in the morning and looks at how many of her friends have liked her Facebook post. And she gets upset because, okay, she has not liked it, he has not liked it, she has liked it, and mind is going in areas where the child is not supposed to waste her time on these things. She's supposed to focus on something called school or college, but she's worried about so many different things. Seeking approval from so many friends. In that age, we seek approval. Our friends have to approve us. That's a big part of fulfillment for that child, for that youth, for that young man or woman. And now you've got all these other things that are coming. Okay. And looks. The way we look has become so important for us now. We are spending more and more time on how we look. And this is what I'm finding. I'm finding that. And you don't have to go too far. And you can see that. I wonder how come this, this wanting the hair to be black in color. Why is it so important? I didn't realize it until I found this industry called this dye, this black, dye your hair black, dye your hair brown, whatever color you want. And this thing, you go to the store and there is a whole aisle full of all these things. I said, what? That only tells me that people are very, very conscious about the color of their hair. If they have hair, okay, if, let me put that if also. Now, you don't ask me if they don't have hair, then what do they do? That's another problem. What can I do? They say it's a problem. They say it's a problem. If you don't have hair, what? I'll say it's great. You don't need shampoo. Hey, come on. You can save some money. You don't need shampoo. And then you put your head on under the shower. You get a nice massage because it's falling right on the bald head. Massage. We should ask bald people for their experiences. Hey, it should be good, right? Nice massage, free massage. Hey, there are so many advantages if you don't have hair. No, I don't think so. I don't think people consider like that. Yeah, Mr. Akshay Swaminathan, go ahead. You raised your hand.
Hi, Guruji. I have a question. You were speaking about news, and I wanted to understand if, is news inherently good or bad? Someone else's good news could be someone else's misfortune and vice versa. So I was just wondering if you could sprinkle some color on that.
Perfect. Perfect. We're going to come to that actually today. We're going to come to that. Answer is, you will tell me the answer. Okay. Whether news is inherently bad or good. Keep this in mind. Okay.
Well done.
Good question. Thank you for that lead. Okay. So we'll come back to this topic of looks. Okay. And some people like gray hair. Most people don't seem to like gray hair. I don't see a gray dye for the black colored hair. I suppose I want my hair to look gray, because gray hair means wisdom, right? Older. So people can look up to me and they can say, oh, namaste, and do all that, right? No, I don't see any gray dye. I need to look up. I didn't. I'm going to go to the store tonight and I'm going to see if they have a gray colored dye. I just want it just for my own curiosity. Okay. So this looks. At least if you say only young people are very obsessed about their looks, they're constantly looking at a small mirror and then looking at themselves in a small mirror. They have a small mirror. They just open it like this, and then they're doing all this. Okay. And because all sides, I don't know how they look at the back of their head, but must be some way to do all that. But they'd keep doing it. At least if you say these young girls and boys are obsessed. No, I see many people spending a lot of time, and it's okay to look, make yourself look good at a function, etc. But how much, how much time is spent on looks, and why? Because I want them to approve my looks. I want them to say, "Oh my God, where did you buy this sari?" I just last week there was a sale. Sale, $100. That's it. Get out of here. Then you feel good. Finally, finally they noticed me. They acknowledged it. They also said they liked the sari. Very important. How do you know they like the sari? How do you know? Just because they said it, they liked it? How do you know what's in their head? They are just being polite, my dear friend. They're just being polite. Imagine saying, "Oh, I hate this color. How could you get this color?" No, nobody's going to say that. Nobody's going to say that because I know they know you'll get hurt. It's impolite. They know that. So we are constantly, it seems, looking for approval. And another indicator to me that we are obsessed with looks is this plastic surgery. I thought America only had plastic surgery, but I come to India. I settle down in India. Guess what? There is plastic surgery going on in India also. Plastic surgery. Okay, and uh, and the insurance companies are smart. They say, guys, plastic surgery is optional. You can survive without plastic surgery. Therefore, we will not cover plastic surgery, even if you have insurance. Okay. And so these kids are all so obsessed. And I remember they used to have surgery of their heel. So they want their heel to be smaller, it seems. I was shocked when I read all these things. I was absolutely shocked. Already high heels already causes all kinds of problems in the vertebral system because they're constantly like this. I don't know. I don't even know how to say it. Like this, they stand, I think, right? The human body is made to stand like this, but they artificially they're made to stand like this, and they have all kinds of problems. Okay, fine. I want to look taller. That's why I'm wearing high heels. All right, fine. You want to look taller. You want to look taller in whose eyes? In your eyes and other people's eyes. Even if other people say you're tall, they know. They know. They've already seen the heels you're wearing. Okay. They know you're not tall. You're that tall minus 3 inches. They already calculated in their mind. And by the way, what do you think? Are you tall or short? That makes a big difference. And if you say you're short, what about being short? What do you think about being short? Do you feel good about it, bad about it, or neutral about it? Isn't that very important? Yeah, it's very important. I feel very bad about it. And therefore, I want approval from everybody else. Everybody should think I'm pretty good. I'm not that tall. That's why I'm wearing high heels. Look, right there, I've surrendered my sense of well being to all my friends, to the world. I've surrendered it. If they approve me, then I feel good. If they don't, I don't feel. Okay. So this, I just gave you the example of looks just to highlight how we have surrendered our idea of fulfillment. Right here, we have an idea. We have a solution, in fact. If my idea, let's go home, make a list of all the things which fulfill me, which depend on other people's approval. Anything that depends on somebody else's approval, it could even be my husband or wife or son or daughter. Okay. But if that fulfillment depends on that person, then I have to ask myself. I have to ask myself, can I ever be fulfilled? Permanently 100% full, right? That's a clue. We are getting a clue from here. So the consequences of all this, one of the schools invited me to give a talk to their high school children. And there was a sea of students, 200, 300 students were there in a big hall. But before I went there, I had a chat with the principal of the school. It's supposed to be a good school, a top-notch school here in Coimbatore where I live. And I asked her, ma'am, just generally about education, today's education. It's been decades since I went to school, so I've lost touch with all these things. So what's their typical schedule? What's their typical schedule? And see, in America, I would have said schedule. In India, I have to say schedule because some of you are used to schedule, some of you are used to a different schedule called schedule, and so I'm conscious of that. Okay. Anyway, so I told her. She said, "Yeah, their typical day begins at 8:30. The bus brings them here, and they, like a military, just marches from one class to another class. They have a break, 10, 15-minute break at 10:30, then march, 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 lunch break at 12 o'clock, march, march, march. Then they have to come back at 12:45 and goes on till 5 because they had asked me to come and speak about some just life itself, stress. I never heard the word stress when I was in school, but here the school wanted me to come and talk about stress to these children. It's actually very awkward to me. You know why? Because it's one thing to talk about stress to adults, but I'm telling these guys are kids, they're children. Why am I talking? How am I going to even approach the topic of stress? Anyway, I she said there's no time. I said I'm impressed that you invited me to talk on some topics that can broaden the thinking of students. Broaden, just broadly. Just stop all your work on mathematics, physics, and chemistry, and let's just think about country, people, life, history. Let's zen out of all this. He said, "We don't have lectures like this. This is a very unique event for us." This is what she said. That means what? Life has become like that. It has become like that. And so these high school students are stressed. College students are committing suicide. That's a very sad thing in the life, in the history of a country, I feel. Okay, because that shows how bad our system is. Maybe we are just downloading stuff on youth and children who are supposed to be the future of our country. They are supposed to be our future leaders, and they want to just exit. Very sad. It's very sad. And I told you the other day, somebody who said, who works in America, young man, unmarried man, he said, Uncle, my generation, my generation feels that the world is going to end in 50 years. Look at what a statement he makes. I was jarred when I heard that. I was unhappy when I heard that. I was not surprised, but I was unhappy when I, okay. And so one, one psychology professor says that the depression today is more than the depression era. Depression era means in America in the 1930s, there was this economy had just collapsed. Companies started laying off. Large scale unemployment was there. People were in the streets, and that was called the Depression era of the 1930s. And that professor was saying the amount of depression in America today is more than the amount of depression of that time. That was the point he was trying. So, so we can agree that today's life is more complex. And if we had any doubt, how do you know it's more complex than the times 100 years ago? Did you interview anybody there? Maybe they also thought life was complex. Well, you just talk to people, your parents, your grandparents, you may have spoken to, and so have a chat with them. Is it true? Do you think the life today is more complex than the life of those days? Some feedback would be good to know. Most likely they will say, yeah, you people are complex people. Most likely they will say that. They will agree. And advanced, yes. But I think you people are restless. That's most likely that's what they will say. Restless. You don't have time to just sit for 5 minutes and have a casual conversation. They might say that. They might say that. I don't know. That's a homework for us. Okay. Therefore, I think we all can agree that just some basic insights on what life is all about is useful to have. Okay. And so this is the question that people have asked, not now, but for generations, for millennia, our elders and our people who have passed on have asked this question. What is life? What am I here for? What's the purpose of life? Sooner or later, that question becomes an important question in our lives. I hope you agree with me on that. What am I seeking? What should I be seeking? Am I not seeking what I ought to be seeking? These questions can come. And that's what makes in our minds makes a mature person. A person is mature if a person has come to a point of asking those fundamental questions. And the other day I said the difference between one big difference or the key difference between animals and humans is this mind. Is this mind, the ability of the mind to send rockets to space. Okay, is that what distinguishes human beings from animals? If you ask me, I may only half heartedly agree with you because if that's what is called accomplishment, then why are scientists depressed? Why does a scientist at the end of the day say, I'm depressed, even though I am the inventor of cryogenic engines? Why? Why is this guy depressed? He must say, I'm the happiest person in the world because I am the inventor. I got the Nobel Prize. Must be happiest person. What's the connection between these kinds of material accomplishments, scientific accomplishments, intellectual accomplishments, and emotional fulfillment? Is there any connection at all? I don't know. There are too many data points which tell me there need not be a connection between the two, right? And so the question now we're going to ask is, what am I seeking? What is the human being seeking? Okay. We are going to come up with three categories of things that we are seeing. Every human being is seeing. Okay, it's universal. First, okay, we're seeking fulfillment, all right. We'll come to that later. But there are so many things I've been seeking in this world, right? And none of that is quote unquote fulfillment. You don't go to Walmart or some store and look at the aisle called fulfillment and then you go pick some stuff from there. No, we can't buy fulfillment from anywhere. You can only buy stuff, things, and we hope that we are fulfilled by them, right? Therefore, I'm asking the question, what are the things that you go after, right? First major thing is security. Every being wants security. Every human being also wants security. Animals want it. Human beings also want security. Just the sense of feeling that I'm safe, I'm comfortable. Okay. I need that sense of security. And how do I get that sense of security from? Since there is no object called security, I get my security through what? Through my job, I get security. Through the capacity to acquire things, and that capacity is given to me by money. So I go and earn some money and I accumulate some money, and then I say, I feel secure. And then beyond that, yeah, family is there. If I ask you why do you have a family? If I ask you, most people will likely say, yeah, family is important for me. It gives me happiness. It gives me joy. What we say is it's a source of security. Family is a source of security. Okay. And food, shelter, and clothing, those days they used to talk like that. And so, job, family, personal health, source of security. Why should I be healthy? Well, if I'm not healthy, I don't feel good. Why don't you feel good? Why don't you be happy being not healthy? I don't know. I'm made like this. What can I do? I'm not happy if I'm sick. I'm not happy if I have chronic illnesses. So I have to get treatment. Therefore, I get security from my own health. So all these things are all part of that, part of security. Now, once I have that basic sense of security, which includes money and stocks and investment and real estate, you can add whatever instrument that gives you security. All that is comes under this bucket. Then number two, once the security is there, guess what? I'm willing to spend that same money that I worked hard to earn. I'm ready to spend on what? Entertainment, acquisition of pleasure. I want pleasure. I want pleasure. I'm ready to go with my friends to have an ice cream. I'm ready to go on a vacation. On a vacation, every vacation, what happens in every vacation? A lot of money actually gets spent. Hey, if money is a source of security, how come you're spending money? It's foolish. You just told me money is a source of security, but then you're spending that money? That's contradictory to me. Well. Come on, Dr. Jaikumar, that's not the way to look at it. Money is a source of security, all right. But you know what? I have some money. I feel like I can spend some money because I want to have a little fun also. Oh, you want fun also? I see. I didn't realize that. Okay, you want to have some fun. And guess what? You have to spend some money to get that fun. All right. So that second category that we are recognizing now is roughly called pleasure. 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 Simple pleasures and complicated pleasure. Disneyland, a lot of money you need to go to Disneyland, first of all. And then, of course, you have to spend some days there. And then you got to stay in a hotel. Okay. And that's not going to be cheap or anything like that. And that's why people spend so much time on looking up hotels.com. Okay. And then they look up, they do all these comparisons, right? I'm forgetting all this. By the way, guys, it's been many years since I returned from US. And so I'm just trying to recall all these things. I've never gone to hotels.com. I may have gone long ago, but it's all coming to me thanks to this discussion. So I'm ready to spend that hard-earned money. I feel that's the right thing to do. They say, what is this? All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. Have you heard that? Heard of that? Yeah. Okay. I see some nodding heads. All right. So I'm not the only one who heard that. So they say that. Oh, okay. So you should not always work. You should may have some fun also. All right. So fun is another category. Pleasure, and I can go to a restaurant, Chinese restaurant for a change. It's going to cost me money. I must be insecure because I'm losing some money. No, that's okay. Even if that's okay. It's all right. I want that fun today. That fun is, and no amount of money can take away that fun from me. Okay, sir. Okay, sir. We take that. I'll buy that. Okay. And so, with the company I was working for in Houston headquarters, and our company filed for bankruptcy, and there came a new CEO. Okay, it's a $80 billion company. It's not a small company. Okay, and he enforced a lot of things, a lot of discipline, etc. And then after some time, he had the time to meet with all of us. He used to go floor by floor. We were living or we were working in a 40-floor building, and he used to go floor by floor and meet people, have lunch with people. So we were all, oh, someday he's going to come to this floor. And he did come. And casual chat, etc. He talked about the company, and then there was some time for Q&A. And when my turn came, I asked him a question because it was a period of a lot of stress for all of us. And because bankruptcy means anything can happen. Even during normal times, no job is permanent. And in bankruptcy, you can imagine. And so I asked him, Jim, that was his name, Jim. And Jim, do you have any hobbies? Do you have any hobbies? It's all serious talk going on. It's all about work and profits and company and rules and this and and I'm asking him this question. I don't know whether he liked it or not, but he did respond to me. He said, you know, Jay, Jay, work is my hobby. Work is my hobby. That's all he said. And he said a few more things. And that's a perfectly good and perfectly valid answer, right? That means what? That means what? His idea of vacation and my idea of vacation are opposites, right? For him, going to work every morning is like having a vacation. That's what he's saying. That's what he's saying. And so that's good. If a person can say that, that's perfect. That's perfect. And so you've got pleasure, pleasure as another category, which is different from security. Security, pleasure. You sit in an airplane, you spend a lot of money, and then in the airplane you pick up the newspaper. Why do you pick up the newspaper? Does it give you security? No, it comes under the category of pleasure. I want to see the news. I want to see what's going on. Then your eyes fell on this crossword puzzle, and then you started solving the crossword puzzle or the Sudoku these days, right? Why are you solving Sudoku? What did you get out of that? Security? No, some intellectual pleasure. Pleasure. Pleasure can be sensual, sensory pleasure also. Okay, sensory pleasure is also a type of pleasure, but this is more subtle. It's intellectual pleasure. Only a few people can appreciate that pleasure. Reading a book, reading a novel, fiction or non-fiction, why do you do it? Are you going to be more secure by reading a novel? No. Some pleasure. I gain some pleasure by reading that. So, therefore, the pleasure of different types is another category, right? And a third category is there. Suppose I ask you, you wanted security and therefore you work hard from morning to night. For years, you've been putting in hours. And why are you doing it? Well, I want to. Otherwise, I can't. I need bread on the table. I need to bring bread on the table. Therefore, I have to work for it. Okay. How many ways are there to earn money? Many ways to earn money. Why don't you? Why don't you steal some money? Why don't you earn money in so many other ways that it's actually easier to get money? In fact, the government employee in India, government employees means in some states, I tell you, you can make more money under the table than over the table. Correct? Why don't I do that? Why don't I do things like that? Why don't I cut corners? Why don't I lie and steal and do things like that? Well, my dear friend, you're not you. What are you talking? Well, I'm talking about, I'm talking about, I'm talking about something which is we can call it roughly righteousness. Okay, ethics, ethics. Okay, what there are many words for it, but the word I want us to use is called dharma. Dharma. I'll explain to you later why the word dharma is not purely righteousness. It means a lot more. But for now, righteousness is okay. But let's get used to using the word dharma. Dharma includes speaking the truth, includes doing the things in the proper way, includes things like I will not do things that's going to hurt other people. It may include a lot of things like that. Legal. I'll do things only that are legal, moral, okay, whatever, whatever it, all those things come into what is called this dharma bucket. Okay? Therefore, I want security, I want pleasure, but the way I'm going to seek those two are by following what is called dharma, is by being righteous. Righteousness is important. How do we know that? We know that it's important because not only I'm following, I'm trying to be as righteous as possible. I also know because there are people who will not cut corners at all, who will go through all kinds of difficulties just because they chose not to bribe. You come to India, I tell you, you buy a plot or a house and you want to register it, you have to bribe people. That's one thing I like about America and other countries. You don't have these kinds of problems. At least at the level of the people, average person, there is no need to bribe. You want a driver's license in India here, you have to bribe that person. I'm not talking. India is changing a lot, guys. Don't take me wrong. India is rapidly progressing, and we are not like we used to be before. But there are some places, some states which are notorious for this. Without bribing the guy, he will not sign that paper which will give me that license, driver's license. Okay? That is why some of these states do not like our government centralizing it, digitizing it. You know why? Because digitizing means everything is on record and everything is online. And so online payments, they don't like online payments. Okay, let's come back. Now I know there are people, there is one person who registered for a course that I taught. All of you registered, right? And she said in her, this was a course on Bhagavad Gita, and she registered for the course and she said, I've always wanted to study the Bhagavad Gita. That's why I'm so happy that you're offering it and you I know you are you know the subject well. And she said one thing, I know dharma is important. I have never lied in my life. She said that in that statement. I've never lied in my life. That means what? A person who never lied in their life, can you imagine how many inconveniences they must have put up with? A person who doesn't lie will have to put up with a lot of difficulty. Maybe not in a society like America, where generally there is a lot of dharma, right and wrong. People follow, even the rule of the road, people follow. People follow like clockwork. I love it. I love it. I want Indian roads to be like that. I love it. And so it's very easy to be righteous in America, but you guys come to India and tell me whether you can be righteous or not. You will run away after a few weeks. You will say, "This is it. I can't handle it." Okay, it's tough. It's tough. I'm just giving an extreme example. That's all. Okay, and so we had floods. We had floods here in Tamil Nadu, in the state of Tamil Nadu. And the government is supposed to come to the rescue of the people. And they did. In many parts, the boatmen, the people, they were asking bribes from the affected people. Can you believe? Can you believe a government employee asking for a bribe in order to cross the road, cross the flooded road? Okay. That's how bad things are. Okay. We are not shocked by it. But dharma is important. There is a person who says, "No, I will not tell a lie. I will not bribe. Even if it means I have to come." I know a person who will not lie and who will not bribe. They went to an office and that guy was expecting a bribe. He went to the office week after week after week after week until that guy got tired and signed the papers. Because now that guy decided it's a waste of my time to put up with this harassment. Okay, that's called dharma. Okay, so I think you all understand that dharma is important. So what did we talk about? We talked about security, number one. We talked about pleasure is also important, which is not the same as security. And then there is dharma, which is independent of security and pleasure, which is the means through which I acquire security and pleasure. And the means also is important. We have stories. We have stories. As a kid, I heard the story of Harishchandra. How many of you heard of Harishchandra? Yeah, all of you, all Indians who grew up in India would have heard the story of Harishchandra. Fantastic story. It's inspirational. No child can ever forget that story if they hear it. Okay. And so those are all examples highlighting dharma. Ramayana is enough. Ramayana highlights dharma, period. Okay. The story of Ramayana is what? The story of Rama. And the story begins very well. Okay. And Dasharatha has 4 children through his 3 wives. And then they're all happy. And then comes the time of coronation of Rama, the crown prince. He is the oldest of the 4. And there comes a tragedy. And then the mother of the second son, okay, says, "I will not accept it." This queen is the dearest to the king, and so this queen manipulates the king and says, "If you don't do this." No, the queen got a blank check. A rain check. A rain check. She got a rain check long ago from the king, and she says, "I want to use this rain check." And she says, "I want my son to be the next king, not the Rama." Okay. And that's it. The whole story turns around from that point, the entire Ramayana. Rama could have come to the father and said, "Who is this? You are not even my mom. Who are you to ask my dad what you asked?" Okay. He could have said that. "Senile old lady, get out of here. I'm going to be the king. The whole kingdom wants me to be the king. My father wants me to be the king. My mother wants me to be the king. What's your problem?" He could have said that. If he had said that, there's no Ramayana. All he did was, you know what? He advised his father, "Hey, dad, you gave a promise to stepmother. You gave a promise, and she is asking you for something. You have to uphold that promise." The son is advising the father. Therefore, in order to uphold the word that you gave to stepmother, I have to follow her advice. I am going to leave this kingdom tomorrow. The whole country is devastated. That's how the story begins. All because of what? Keeping the spoken word. That's it. Spoken word. That's all the story is. And so anyway, dharma becomes very important. And so I'll give you a quiz. I'll give you a quiz. It's about an hour now. I'm going to stop shortly after this short quiz. Okay. I'm going to give you some examples. You're going to tell me which category it falls in. Does it fall in the category of security, pleasure, or dharma? Okay. Playing with your 2-year-old granddaughter. Which category?
Pleasure.
Pleasure. Okay. It falls under pleasure. Correct. All right. Pleasure is a reasonable answer. Okay. Playing with your 2-year-old, with a 2-year-old granddaughter of your neighbor.
Still pleasure, I would say.
Again, pleasure.
Pleasure. Yeah. Even though there is a big difference between your own granddaughter and somebody else's granddaughter. If I ask you, if something happened to your granddaughter versus your neighbor's granddaughter, my response is going to be different. Different because my relationship is different. My response is going to be proportional, commensurate with my relationship. Correct? I see so many people dying every day in the newspaper. I see it, but I'm not shocked. I'm not depressed. Okay. Anyway, third example. Selling one's jewelry to pay off debt. Selling one's jewelry to pay off debt.
I would
say
put
that's
under peace
dharma.
of mind.
Security.
That's righteousness.
Okay, dharma, righteousness. Any other answer?
Peace of
Security.
mind.
Security. Any other answers?
Peace of mind.
Peace of mind is which category, my dear friend, Anurani?
Security, I guess. Or is that wrong?
Good. So, let's see, security need not give you peace of mind.
That's true. Very true.
Therefore, peace of mind doesn't come under the category of security. The security is just pure physical and my ideas of security. But peace of mind comes under dharma. Peace of mind will not even come under pleasure because you can seek any amount of pleasure you want. You can go to Alaska. Okay, I'll give you another example. Going to Alaska on a cruise.
Pleasure.
Pleasure. You gotta have some cash. Gotta have some cash if you want to go on a cruise to Alaska. Okay. You know what? I have never gone on a vacation. Means I never felt the need that I have to take a break for 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks like that. But I did take a vacation because every year I used to have 3 weeks, 4 weeks vacation. I always used to fly from America to India because I had to be with my parents, etc. Many of you have done that. And so that was my only vacation, and it's really not a vacation. It's really working on all the things that have been pending for the last 1 year, 2 years, and I was busier during those 3 weeks. All of you know this. And so it's just namesake vacation. But really, I never felt like I had to go here, go there, see this, see that, Colorado, this. I've never been to Colorado, nothing. But then what happened? My friends decided this guy is not going to come anywhere. Not going to go anywhere. So we are going to take him to Alaska. Without telling me, they purchased tickets. Now, I paid for the tickets eventually, but they just said, here are your tickets. So I did go to Alaska. From Seattle, I think we boarded the ship in Seattle and then it goes from there. Anyway, pleasure. Correct? It's in the category of pleasure. All right. What about, just imagine, this is a modern example. The CEO of a large company doing extremely well. The guy is buying companies, selling off portions of his company, buying companies, selling off portions of his company. It's not an easy question, but I want you to think about it. Those of you who are, does it come under security? Does it come under pleasure? Or does it come under dharma?
I
I
feel
think
security.
security, no?
It
I'd
come under
I'd say pleasure.
pleasure. Akshay is saying pleasure. Okay.
Yeah, me too. I think it's more a pleasure.
Pleasure. Okay. There are some of you who are saying pleasure. That's why I said a company that's already making money head over shoulders. That's why I said that. Company doesn't need any more money to feel quote unquote secure. So this
This is
guy now,
pleasure seeking.
therefore,
Pleasure.
this guy now has so much money. Now he's playing with that money. He's playing with that money because now this mergers and acquisitions is such a big thing over the last so many couple of decades or more. And what it does is, it may be a good idea, but it ruins the lives of many people in the process.
Hmm.
I remember a movie called Wall Street. How many of you have seen the movie called Wall Street? I've seen the movie. I've seen the movie. Okay, yeah, many of you.
But
Michael Douglas is the hero of this movie, and he's the guy who's investing. He's a big stock investor, and he is just eyeing all these companies that can be bought and sold and things like that. Anyway, he says that greed is good. He makes a big statement like greed is good. Anyway, the correct answer, in my opinion, here is pleasure because he's playing with money. His games are different than the games you and I play. You and I seek pleasures in certain ways. His way of seeking pleasure is different. He is not going to be insecure just because he didn't do that act. Yeah, Akshay, go ahead.
well, you could see that from any perspective you deem to be valid, in the sense that if I choose, I could say that this is dharma, as in it is your fiduciary duty to provide higher returns for your company holders and your fellow associates and colleagues by acquiring more companies and increasing shareholder value. But on the other side, you can also say you don't need to grow because your company is already so massive. You could just sustain that position, which is pleasure.
Right, right. Exactly. So, one question you asked earlier today, I did not answer that question yet, right? The question is what? There can be a person who is a source of happiness, but the same person can be a source of joy also. Here is an example. Buying a company, it's contextual. It's highly context based, highly context based. And so we have to cover one important topic. Okay, that is two more topics I had in mind to do today. First topic is, for whose sake am I seeking security, pleasure, and happiness? Number one, if I can simply ask that question. Okay. Suppose I say, okay, my family gives me security. Well, there are things I want in my life that give me security. My house gives me security. For whose sake am I seeking the house? I'm seeking the house not for the house's sake, for my sake only I'm seeking. Correct? It's for my sake. That's obvious. For my sake. All right. I'm seeking money, not for the sake of money, but for my own sake. That's why I say I want that security. Money doesn't need security. Money is inert. It doesn't need anything. Okay. And all the things I want a car. On a car. Okay, I can get a car, and it makes me secure. It makes me do things properly. It makes me save time. Whatever. And so security and pleasure also it can contribute to. And so therefore, I want a car. I'm not going to buy a car for the sake of the car, but for my own sake. All right. Now let's come a little closer to family members. I want to be married. All right. For whose sake I want to be married? For my own sake, obviously. For my own sake. Nobody says I want to be married for somebody else's sake. Unless it's like India, where parents put a lot of pressure on children. And they put so much pressure that this guy is fed up and he says, I'm marrying for the sake of my parents. And it's true also. It's true also. So you have all these problems. But okay, keep those exceptions aside. I'm marrying for my own sake. Now I'm going to ask you other questions. Do you love your spouse? Do you love your wife or husband? Suppose you say, yes, I love. You love your spouse for whose sake? Was I asked. For whose sake do you love your spouse? Any answers to that?
For myself, I think.
Neelamji says for myself, for my own sake.
My own
Okay. Any other questions? Yeah, Malati, please go ahead. I know the time is running out. We said 1.5 hours, and I just wanted to take this topic to conclusion. So we'll continue to discuss. Yeah. So Neelamji says for my sake. Any other answers? I'll give you a different question. Akshay, go ahead.
Could it be that, and I'm just speaking, that since inception of society, whatever, we've always been told that there's a certain way we have to behave with our husband, a certain way we have to behave with our wife, so that that sort of conditioning could be the reason.
Conditioning is there. Therefore, what are you suggesting, Akshay?
Maybe just so that society, deems me to be not deviant, to be normal.
All right. Be normal as decided by the norms of that society. Okay. But why should I follow the norms of that society? Why should I say, no, I'm not going to follow the norms of society? No, I feel better. I feel more secure if I follow the norms of society. I'm not that courageous that I can just elope. I don't have that kind. I'm not that kind of person. I'd rather feel I'm comfortable following the norms of society. I'm comfortable means what? I'm secure if I follow the norms of society. Therefore, I want to do ABC. Means what? Finally, it's boiling down to my own sense of fulfillment, right? If I am deviant, like you said, then that's going to make me more insecure. If people will think that I'm deviant, and that's not going to make me feel good. That's not going to make me feel good. Me. I'm the center of I'm the hero of my life, right? Therefore, when I say I love my wife or husband, I love them for my own sake. What about children? I love my children. If somebody says, for whose sake I love my children? Well, for their sake or my sake?
Still my sake, I think.
I think it's for my sake. Look at that. Cautiously saying, I think is for my sake. Why cautious? Is it not obvious? Not obvious. It's not obvious. All along, I thought I was loving them for their sake. They needed my help. They needed my guidance. They needed my love and affection. Therefore, I'm doing it for their sake only. Guess what, guys? If you're not sure about it, think about it. It's a very important question to answer.
For
The
both
answer-
our
Huh?
for both our sakes.
Can you say it again?
Both of our sakes. It's
Both
like
our
a give and take.
For the child's sake as well as for my sake.
Yes.
That's a safe answer, That's a safe answer.
Very safe, yes.
But I'm going to challenge you to go beyond that safe answer. for their sake. Why should I love somebody for their sake? Because if I love them, I feel better.
But
I
I
feel
don't,
good.
yeah, I don't think that you make yourself love them. It's a natural thing. This is your child. You've nurtured it, brought it up, so the affection, the love grows without even realizing. So I don't think we're intentionally loving them. It's just a natural.
All right. If it's natural, the children leave home. Okay. Natural to leave home. Then what? The mother and father is just natural, So they don't worry about the child anymore.
No, they
And
do. They do.
they
My,
do.
my children have left
Even
home.
though the child is quite happy working wherever they are working, New York or Toronto or wherever, or Mumbai, child is quite fine. But the parent is constantly sending a WhatsApp
Because,
message. How are you? Where are you? You're not telling me what you're eating. Are you eating good food? Yes, mom, I've told you. I've told you 10 times. Mom,
but
why? Why
I
does that
think the
happen?
love, you need your child in front of your eyes in order to realize that he is healthy the way you want because of the love you have for that child. So
The
But I think
parent,
in
the
the end, it
parent,
comes back to us. We love our children because we love ourselves. And I think essentially it is for our own sake that we love our children.
so I'm challenging you to think about Neelamji's
Isn't
statement.
isn't it duty?
Let me complete this train of thought. Okay. So the point is this. I want in this example that we said, I need the child's love also, right? And that's why when the child stops calling, hasn't called in 2 weeks, I'm anxious. I'm anxious. Even though the guy says I'm fine, I'm doing just fine, which should be pretty good. You want your child to be fine only, your son ought to be fine. But that's not acceptable. Something is missing. My happiness, my joy, my fulfillment is surrendered to that person. And there is some idea I have about fulfillment in this case, which still is not complete. Still is not complete. I want something from you that you're not giving me, my dear son. That's what it boils down to. Okay. And that's why I can't accept his answer that I'm fine. Just I'll call you next week. Next week? Next week, you say? WhatsApp is there right on your fingertip. You can send me a message every morning saying I'm okay. Okay, is that what you want, mom? Okay, I'll try to do that. All right. Why do you have all these problems? Because our idea of this so and so person makes me happy. We need to question that. Really speaking, that person does not have the capacity to make me happy or sad. We are going to explore this topic. It's a bold statement. It's a very bold statement I'm making. No person has the capacity to make me sad or happy. I want you to think about this. I want you to think about it. We don't have time to explore it completely today, but I'm giving you that idea. Nothing in this world has the capacity to make me sad or happy. Let's talk of an example. Suppose I say my husband, my wife is a source of joy. If she or he were a source of joy means what? What do you mean by source of joy? That person exudes joy. If the person exudes joy, the person must exude joy to everybody around, not just me. No, she's a pain in the neck. For many people say she's a pain in the neck. But for me, she's a source of joy. Okay? And not only that, that person must be a source of joy today, tomorrow, and day after tomorrow also. But then years later, the same person comes and says, you know what? We are ready to separate. How? If a person is a source of joy, means if giving joy is a property of that person, what happened to the property? Like if heat is the property of fire, wherever there is fire, heat will be there. Heat and fire cannot be separated, my dear friends. You know that very well. Like that, happiness and this person cannot be separated. She is a source of, she is, if you say, what am I doing? I'm making a mistake of attributing happiness and person. I've put both of them together like this, thinking that this person always is going to produce that joy that I want. But guess what? No person is capable of producing joy. Neither any person has the capacity to produce sadness. What they do is they have the ability to trigger happiness and joy in me. Otherwise, how do you explain being happy in family? How do you explain Christmas vacations where people are having a great time? How do you explain a family to begin with? Well, so we have to find a way to see if I really have to separate this happiness and person. Are they two combined together or not? We have to look into it. The father, the newborn son, the baby is born, and the father is holding the baby like this. Yes, 1 month, 2 months, okay? And the baby is just, all the baby can do is keep the hands near the mouth, and the legs are just kicking. And then he's holding the baby like this, the head on the hand and the legs towards the mouth. And he tells the wife, the mother, look at Vikram. Look at your son. He's kicking me. Look at your son. He's kicking me. You know, kicking, right? My goodness, Vikram, you are very smart. You're becoming stronger. Every day you're becoming stronger. Your kick is stronger. I'm so proud of you, Vikram. Fast forward 30 years. Fast forward 30 years. And the same thing happened. The son said something which appeared like a kick on the face. What happened? Then also kick, now also kick. But then he was proud. Now what? Now he's saying, what kind of son did I give birth to? Because the son said something. Something like, to heck with you. Who are you? Who are you? In India, if you say, who are you? They'll get shocked. Anywhere, I say, why India? Why should I say India? Every family, all over the world, parents, children, they have the same relationship. And so, that means what? The person's son really doesn't have the capacity, cannot have the capacity to give sadness or sorrow. We better begin to think along those lines. A person is good. A relationship can be beneficial to me. But to say that this person is always going to give me happiness or is always going to make me sad is not a correct statement. Cannot be a correct statement. We have to look into that. And so, today they say, in the news they say, Narendra Modi, 76% among all the world leaders, he has the highest global approval ratings. Okay, Narendra Modi. Okay. So what? That means what? Many of us love him, okay, in India. But there are many people in India who hate him also. And there are many leaders outside the country also who don't like him. Canada comes to my mind. Okay. But we'll leave that for another day. Okay, that discussion. That means what? This guy Modi really doesn't have the capacity. Only I am the one who projects some ideas on him. Project some ideas on him and take that to be literal and true, axiom, truism, and then I suffer after that. I suffer after that, correct? And so, money, same thing with money also. Money gives security, correct statement. Money gives me happiness. Anybody's guess. Anybody's guess. Anybody's guess. Okay? How do you explain situations where people just give up their own money? There are stories where people give up all their wealth and go off to some place and still be happy. Happy. How do you explain that situation if money is the source of joy? If money is the source of joy, giving up money should be a source of sorrow. No, you can't. You can't even say that. Just a month ago, one of my students sent me a link, introduced me to a person who lived abroad for 10 years or something like that. And he came back to Hyderabad. Surya Prasad is his name. He started, he's serving the state of Andhra Pradesh, Telangana. He's very creatively, providing education and things like that. He doesn't get 1 penny salary. How? How come he can quit a job like that and just begin serving people? He is now more insecure when you say, if you measure him by the money he earns. But he finds fulfillment, a lot of fulfillment in that. Therefore, we have to start questioning our ideas that we have entertained over time, okay? And re-explain accomplished people who are depressed. Yeah, how do you explain all that? The guy, there's a counselor, there's a psychologist, marriage counselor. He's a marriage counselor, very successful marriage counselor. He comes to Swamiji. Swamiji means my guru. I refer to him as Swamiji, right? He comes to Swamiji. And Swami asks him, what's up? And he says, first time, okay? First time. So, okay, come on, let's talk. What do you want to talk about? He says, I am a very successful marriage counselor. Okay? My marriage is not working out. What happened? What happened? You just told me I'm a successful marriage counselor. Why can't you fix your marriage? Not working. That's all. His extent of success goes only as far, but not to his family. It stops before his family. That's pretty sad, I think. How do you explain all these situations? Okay. Therefore, I want to conclude with this statement today that our definition of fulfillment, okay, suppose somebody tells you, I want to give you another example. Okay. Somebody served in Vietnam, came back to US because it's a war between US and okay. So he comes back, the soldier comes back to Vietnam, comes back to US. He's only 30 years old, 25, 30. He's unmarried. Okay. He comes back. The story goes like this, okay? He calls his parents from San Francisco. And he tells his parents, Mom, Dad, I'm back. I'll be home shortly. Okay? Parents are excited, elated. They said, son, shall we come to pick you up? No, don't worry. They'll drop me. They'll send me home. I'll be there. But I have something to tell you. What is it? I have a friend. He served like me in Vietnam, but he stepped on a landmine. And he lost one leg and he lost one hand. Okay? He has nowhere to go. Can I bring him with me? The parents said, we're very, very sorry to hear that, son. John, we're very sorry to hear, John. Bring him over anyway. We'll find him a place to stay. The son says, no, I want him to stay with me. And the parents say, John, you don't know what you're asking. You don't know what you're asking. Such a person in the home will be a big burden for us. Will be a very big burden for us. And we can't lead lives normal. Our normal life will be disrupted in a major way if you bring such a person. So just forget about him, leave him there and come. He says, okay, Mom. 3 days later, they get a call from the police in San Francisco. They say, your son fell from a building. We believe it's suicide. The parents are devastated. They come rushing to San Francisco. and they saw the son in the morgue, and they opened the whatever that cover, and guess what? They are in for another shock. The shock is their son did not have his hand and a leg. He had only one hand and one leg. He left home with 2 hands and 2 legs. Okay. Now, suppose we change the story slightly. Change the story slightly. This guy comes to America, comes to San Francisco after his job in Vietnam, and he comes to the government office. You are employed in that government office. It is a job. It is your job to facilitate his rehabilitation. It's your job. You are the counselor of all these people. He'll tell you, you know what? I've lost a hand and a leg. Nobody's going to marry me. Nobody's going to employ me. And you have decided your definition of fulfillment is married, children, settled, retired with this much money, etc. How am I going to get fulfilled? How will your definition of fulfillment apply to me, ma'am? I need some help. I need some help. I want to feel fulfilled in life too. Or is fulfillment not available for me? Suppose he were to ask you that question. What will you tell him? What will you tell him? Tough call, is it not? It's a tough call. It's a tough call. I'm telling you now, my definition of fulfillment has to apply to everybody. I'm challenging myself to come up with a definition of fulfillment that has to apply to everybody. Because if he comes and asks me, I want to be fulfilled, I must be able to respond to him also. Or if somebody says, you're saying married and with children is fulfillment, I'm divorced, I'm a divorcee, and I don't have any intention to get married again. Or a single person comes, I'm single, but I don't have any intention to get married. I don't have a desire to get married. Can I not be fulfilled? Somebody says, no, I don't want these kind of high-paying jobs. And my family is important to me. I just have little bit money to just take my school to, give schooling to my children. That's about it. Can I be fulfilled? How am I going to respond to that? How are you going to respond? I'm going to leave us today with that question. It's already been 1.5 hours. Okay, I'm watching the clock. It's not like I'm not watching. But I'm going to stop there now. We're going to continue this discussion. And you sent some questions before. I have a list of questions with me. And we are going to continue to build on that. You please ask me questions now. I'll open this to more questions. And one of the big questions was, what do you mean by fulfillment? So that's why I spent time on that. We are arriving at that. What is the meaning of fulfillment? We have not yet answered that question, right? We are just saying that traditional definitions of fulfillment may not work. At least I am personally not interested in that kind of a definition of fulfillment. Okay. This is not a pep talk I'm giving you. As I told you earlier, I'm not a motivational speaker. I don't want to give you some tips. Here are some tips and then go find fulfillment. No, that's not what I'm here for. Something more than that is what I'm looking for. So with that, I leave you and I'll open the stage for further questions. And going back to Akshay's question of, isn't it context dependent, right? So I hope some part of that question is answered by saying, I have surrendered, maybe I've surrendered my idea of happiness to all these people, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. These things, A, B, C, D, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. These situations, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W. These events should happen for me to be fulfilled. I say that is a surrender of fulfillment, not an achievement of fulfillment. Okay? I'm going to challenge you with these thoughts. And back to you, Anjali. Anjali is raising her hand. Go ahead, Anjali.
Guruji, I apologize for coming in late. I had the time totally messed up. I thought that I was coming in at 8 o'clock and it's Eastern, not Central. So I apologize. And I find the discussion a little bit that I heard fascinating. This question that you ask about fulfillment is a very deep question, and it almost is sort of like the underpinning of all of psychology, if you will, because what you're saying is that we have to look at fulfillment not from, if you're thinking of someone else's fulfillment, then you have to, as we say, get in that person's shoe, because my idea of fulfillment cannot be your idea or anybody else's. So so when you think about fulfillment, you think, like, for example, you talk about that person who goes to the social worker and says, you know, I am incapacitated. Is my life over? And you know, if you know, so we have to look at that person and because what we might think is fulfillment, he doesn't need that. He may need something so we have to find out what that person needs to be fulfilled. And it might be very different from what we think it is. So I think you're raising some very important question and really making us think. So I appreciate that. And again, I apologize for being late. It's my crazy brain. So
Good, Anjali. Thanks for that feedback. Thanks for that feedback. Any other questions from the audience?
Oh.
Or any other questions you've asked before, but you know, it's in the list, but you know, feel free to highlight that question once again. Anand Rani, go ahead.
Okay, so early on when you were talking about everything and then talking about suicides and how a person gets to that point. So I don't know. I always thought that we come into this world, our whole life is mapped out for us. So whatever we do, we're unconsciously following our destiny. If I'm meant to commit suicide, I will. If I'm meant to be 110 years old, I will be. I just, you know, I think some things are out of our hands. I mean, we can think about it after that. Why did he commit suicide? Why did this happen? What led to that point? But maybe it's a fatalistic thought. I don't know. But I think our destiny takes us where we are meant to be. It's already been mapped out at birth.
Okay. So you're bringing in destiny to the conversation, okay, and asking perhaps there is a question there, and let me just talk a minute on that. Yeah, let it be true, let it not be true, okay. Suppose you lost your job, suppose, and you come home and say, you know, I lost my job. And your husband says, your children say, your friends say, that's your destiny. That's my destiny? You mean I just told you I lost my job? Are you at least upset about that? Are you sad that I lost my job? I know that's what I'm looking for. I'm not asking for any philosophy here. I'm not asking for any, you know, with these kinds of statements. Or God wanted you to lose your job. But I need a job. How about that? I need a job or not? If God wants you to get a job, you'll get a job. Okay? What? That's not an acceptable answer. That may be true. Even if it is true, I need a job. I'm hardly paying my bills with my current salary. Now I don't have a salary. I need a job. I need something right now. Okay. So the destiny argument may be true or may not be true, but it doesn't help me.
Yeah.
When I'm seeking for help, it doesn't help me. It doesn't satisfy me. So that's why there is no need to bring the destiny argument now. There is another context where we can bring it. Okay. But now, if you bring in the destiny, I will request you to just keep it aside for now.
Okay, no problem.
No, I'm asking you, is it okay? I mean, does it feel okay? Did what I say seem reasonable to you?
It does, but then I also feel that your destiny is there, it's yours, but you can't just give into it. So you have to meet your destiny halfway.
No, but I'm
It
saying that
is working in tandem.
I'm saying that your destiny is to lose your job, but your destiny is to quickly discuss with people and find a job.
Yes, and
So
this,
both are there in the destiny. So that means you have to look for a job.
yeah. So then I think again it comes down to your mind then. So you think about this, I've lost the job. Maybe there's bigger and better things for me, but I need to make an effort to find those bigger and better things. So then I'm consciously trying to fulfill my destiny without knowing that I'm actually fulfilling my destiny.
Right. So I'm saying that we need to be practical first before talking about things like destiny and God.
Okay.
In search of destiny and God, I cannot become impractical. And become impractical. Okay, this is again a tradition. We're coming to our tradition. We are a highly religious people. Okay, we means I'm referring to myself, and the people I work with, live with, I've grown up with. They're all highly religious, but we come with a certain type of thinking. We don't surrender our intellect just because we are religious. Our religion demands us to be practical. Think, think, think. That's why for us, Saraswati is a goddess of knowledge, goddess of knowledge. So I can't say, oh, God is doing all these things, so just accept it. There are certain situations where the only thing we can do is accept. Okay, nothing else we can do. There's a storm, cyclone. What can you do? You can at best leave home, drive a few miles. But what I mean is, we need to think through. Thinking is part of the destiny, right?
Yeah.
I've been given a mind to think, so I'm destined to think and whatever. So,
Yeah,
but
my mind tends to jump from one topic to another. So
no, but that's a good topic. We'll talk about it a bit later.
okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Yeah. So Rashtar Sharma raised his hand.
Yes, thank you. More to share my very mundane self-fulfillment experience of today. Just like Anjali says, it's a very complex psychological, but it can be very simple. Like in our kitchen, one of our drawers fell off. So of course, my wife, this is the task, you have to, fix it now. And the big challenge was because the screw had come off from the rail, I had to find the replacement screws. So that was a challenge. So I had to go from Canadian Tire to Home Hardware to one to the other to the other. Finally, I didn't find exactly the screw, but I found something which I think would fit. So I came home, and lo and behold, then I ended up first fixing the rail and then was able to put the drawer in. And for me, that was like a sense of fulfillment today. I felt good. You found a solution. There was a challenge. It was broken. You fixed it. So that was my little self-fulfillment in my life or in my day of today's life. Thank you. I just wanted to share it.
Sure. So it's important to find fulfillment in simple things. Otherwise, we may end up in a corner from where we may not be able to retrieve ourselves, right? And so it's a very important, those kinds of experiences, doing the simple things in life, having simple conversations with people, saying hello, good morning. All these things can be very elevated. Good. Any other thoughts? So 2 takeaways today. First takeaway was what? Life is complex. The fact that we have allowed it to complicate our lives is there. But compared to the generations ago, we are now faced with more events, situations, etc. And therefore, it's even more critical for us to ask the question about life. What is life? What's the purpose of my life and my living? And how can I be happy in this world? These are all very critical questions, fundamental questions. Number one. Number two, what are we seeking? We are seeking three things primarily: security, pleasure, and dharma. Okay, that we learned today. Okay, and we also said an important thing, which is the third learning, which is I love others or other things for my own sake, not for the sake of the other person or the other thing. It means what? If I tell my daughter I love you, it's good to say that. If I tell my daughter I love you, within brackets, within parentheses, what is there? I love you because you please me, because I am pleased by you. That is why if the daughter does not stops pleasing me, then I'm willing to keep the phone down. Correct? Why? Because within brackets, what is there within brackets is very important. Because I am pleased by you. Which means what? It sounds as though, am I selfish? Selfish? Sounds like it. It sounds like it. But we are all selves, and we are therefore, I'm referring to the desire that I must be fulfilled. I must be fulfilled. There's no choice to that. There's no, I can never say it's all right for me to be sad. I'm happy being sad. Nobody can say that. I'm happy being disgruntled. I'm happy being angry. I'm happy being frustrated. Nobody can say that. We're not made like that. Therefore, that within parenthesis, whatever comes, because of the pleased self, because of the pleased self is a critical thing that we learned today also. And so we alluded at the fact that whenever I say thing X makes me fulfilled, person Y makes me fulfilled, situation Z makes me fulfilled, essentially, I'm allowing those situations to dictate my fulfillment. Because there's nothing in this world is guaranteed. Person X is not guaranteed. Thing Y is not guaranteed. Situation Z is not guaranteed. That means what? I have my fulfillment is now dependent on various things which are impermanent. Therefore, my fulfillment is going to be an up and down kind of fulfillment. Here today, gone tomorrow. Here today, gone tomorrow. I want you to debate, think over it, agree or disagree. Okay. Rashtra Sharma, go ahead.
Yes, I was just, reflecting on when you said life is complicated versus do we make life complicated? Not maybe today, but one day we should explore it. Because at the simplest of whatever comes, if you accept it and you move on, that's not a very complicated reaction. Whereas if you start thinking about it, why it happened to me? Why me? That's where it starts to get complicated, in my view. But we'll discuss it some other time.
And when you say why me, you mean what? When you say why me, you mean what?
No, it's like when a person, whatever happens, usually, a bad situation, and if you start thinking, why me? I'm the victim. I am the one, everybody's banging on me, and on and on and on it can go. Versus, okay, so I'm the chosen one. Thank you. I can handle it. Let's move on.
You know,
Change the
you know,
question.
Rashtar, this why me? It's a child remnant, a remnant from my childhood days. The child also said the same thing. Everybody has a balloon in their hands. All the children are playing with their balloons. But my balloon burst. And guess what? And then I'm crying. I'm wailing, oh, and people say, what happened? Balloon burst. My balloon burst. So the problem is not balloon burst. Hey, everybody's balloon is okay, but my balloon burst. That's the problem. That's an even bigger problem than balloon bursting. You know why? Because my friend's balloon also burst. I feel somehow. Oh, okay. Your balloon also burst. My balloon. So okay. So third person's balloon burst. Suddenly I'm not that sad. But if I'm the only guy whose balloon has burst, I will throw tantrums like there's no tomorrow. Correct? So therefore, this idea, this sense of victimhood, correct, is there from childhood. I keep carrying on, taking it all the way, and we need to sort it out. We have to sort it out sooner or later, right? Because we don't want to carry something that's not useful to me, and that's not even true. That's not even true. And so this why me is an important question. We have to answer that question. Every parent will ask the question, why my son? Why my daughter? Why me? Why my family? Very important question to ask. Why not? Everybody's floods. Why my house got flooded? Everybody's house is okay. Why me? So tough question. And we will answer that question. And already, okay, so we will definitely cover that topic a bit later also. That's why I said our definition of fulfillment must be all encompassing. Correct? It can be, otherwise it's a tip. Otherwise it's a tip. I'll give you a couple of tips, right? You can use it. If it doesn't work for you, you give it up. If it works for you, use it. I'm not interested in giving tips here. We are fundamentally analyzing this, and we'll continue doing that. Yeah. Any other thoughts or questions? What's his name? Person who asked questions before. He's not here now, I think. I don't see him. Okay, he's not here.
Are you looking for Akshay, Guruji?
Yeah, Akshay, correct.
Yeah, Akshay has some exams, so he had
Right.
to go.
So he was making some remarks which give us an entry into this whole thought process, right? He said something like, how can you say something absolutely? Person X gives me happiness cannot be an absolute statement. Cannot be an absolute statement. Because even the person X does not know what happiness is. How can the person give me happiness? They themselves don't know. It's just happening. The chemistry is there, it's just happening. I love you, you love me, great. Happiness, chemistry is working out. But nobody knows what happiness is. Nobody knows where it's coming from. Till we are all able to say, I'm happy. That's a miracle. In my opinion, that's a miracle. So, what Akshay said is an important statement, and we'll delve on that in the next session. And Anjali here says there is a theory that says every action we do is motivated by self-interest. So if we think of any action we do is only due to some perceived self-benefit. Okay, so she's a psychologist. She's coming from that perspective. And so our scripture has said this long ago, thousands and thousands of years ago. Has said this in a famous statement called Atmanastu Kamaya Sarvam Priyam Bhavati. Means what? Let me translate that because I don't expect you to know Sanskrit. Sarvam Priyam Bhavati. Sarvam, all. Priyam. likable, lovable. Everything is lovable to me. For what? Why? Atmanastu kamaya, because it pleases me, because of the pleased self. If something refuses to please me, then I will reject it. Can be my own wife or husband. Reject. I am the center. I am the hero of my life, and I must be pleased by whatever I do or whatever I relate to, whoever I relate. So that's what she's saying, and that's an important observation. So we don't use the word selfish for that, because there is another meaning for the word selfish, which means, hey, when I can share so many things with so many people and I keep things for myself, then that's called selfishness. And so, if you want to use the word selfish in that context, then we'll just leave the word selfish and you look for a word for what we just described. Atmanastu kamaya sarvam prema. Yeah, it looks selfish, and that's a correct statement. Yeah.
Just contributing to that discussion. When benefiting everybody pleases me, is not a definition, in my view, of being a selfish. Okay, that transcends when an action benefits me at the detriment of others is, in my simpler way of thinking, being selfish.
Fair enough. That's a reasonable definition of selfishness, where when something is called for, which I'm not doing, right, and on top of that I'm actually hurting others in the process, then I can be termed as selfish. Helping others, it transcends, you said, it transcends, the sense of self, and that's why the serving society, serving people is always in any society looked up to. Why? Because such people, you ask such people, you should be curious, what's your sense of fulfillment? They will always talk about helping others. If I help others, I feel fulfilled. They never ask anything for themselves. Very strange. Very strange, is it not? They're always thinking about others. And that's good. That's good, because the one extreme is I always think of myself. What do I have? Do I have? I don't have this. I need to get that. This is not good. I need to do something about that. So I'm constantly looking at myself and what I possess and my people. This guy's always thinking about others. So he's not really worried that much about himself. I can live with whatever I have, but I'm more worried about others. So therefore, that person, somehow that brings fulfillment to this person. A lot of fulfillment. But if you ask me, can this be a definition of fulfillment? Rashtarji, suppose, can we all agree to keep that as one of the elements of the definitions of fulfillment? Helping others?
Well, yes, definitely it is. In my case, it is. We do a lot of things which is for the betterment of the society, and that pleases me. So in that sense, yes, it is.
Okay, good.
Helping others and somebody feels miserable, how come now that person is not doing it? Then it's not fulfilling you. The fulfilling part of it, in my view, is not only that you're doing it, but don't get attached to, am I getting the glory? Am I getting the appreciation? Am I getting all those other trappings?
So the element of fulfillment you would like is help others with a lot of all these caveats that you already said, right? And so that would be a nice element in our definition of fulfillment. Now I'm going to get another opinion, and so Narayan Kamanji is going to tell us. He nodded his head this way horizontally, and so I want to hear something from him also.
Hariom.
Yeah.
I just wanted to, I agree. That is, these are the things that we have to do to, find those moments of satisfaction, I would say. But for me, fulfillment has to go beyond that. It has to be independent of, what it has to be independent of others, right? It has to be something that independent of whether I am helping, not helping. That is to me, that is the something within me that I have to tap into. And I am getting occasional glimpses of that, like Rashtarji said, by doing something good. It makes me, you use the term pleased self. It gives me a glimpse of that pleased self. But to me, fulfillment is, being with that pleased self all the time, or
Right.
if that's possible. That's the distinction I would make between
So
what
now we
Rashtarji
have
says
we
and
have two
fulfillment.
opinions now. Rashtarji is saying one of the elements must include this sense of outgoingness and service mentality. That's a very important element of fulfillment. And Narayanji is saying no. He's saying no because he's saying that also, that kind of fulfillment also depends on certain actions and certain people and certain types of activities. And he's not willing to surrender fulfillment to any activity. Even though he agrees that, yeah, helping others is good, it must be done, and he would like to do it. He may do it even more, in fact. But he's saying that cannot be an element of that definition. Because he's saying that means I have surrendered my fulfillment to certain things, which may or may not be possible. I'll give you an example. This guy, John, a soldier who returned from Vietnam, you'd give him this advice: you go and help others. I can't even walk. Where is the question of help? I can't help myself. Where is the question of helping others? Suppose he challenges us like that. What kind of definition is this? It's of no use to me, he says. I have to do namaste to him. I have to bow my head to him. I have to agree to him. I said, yeah, this is not universal. This is not a universal definition. Okay, somebody. Okay, so there you go. So Rashtra, so you got two opinions, right? Narayanji is giving us an example why that definition, that element cannot be part of my definition. Okay? Something to think about. Think about. Just because service is good and gives me quote unquote fulfillment, that fulfillment is relative fulfillment. What we are seeking is absolute fulfillment. Maybe now I'm introducing two adjectives called relative and absolute, correct? Relative fulfillment, yeah. Narayanji also agrees that you will get relative fulfillment from that. But I am looking for that pleased self which is always fulfilled. Is there a self that is always fulfilled? He's asking. That I don't know about? Is there something like that that I don't know about? That's what he's asking. So that's another entry point to what's coming in the next week or two, right? Yeah, Premaji, go ahead.
Guruji, what Rashtraji said is accurate. That is a form of fulfillment. What Narayanji said is also a form of fulfillment. One is temporary and the other one is relating to something permanent, which is always there. The pleased self is what you serve. So that service goes to something. When we are talking about the higher self, not the pleased self of the average person who is just doing something to be good or wanting to achieve something. So I found both questions wonderful, and I think Narayanji hit the point when he said looking for something that will not go away after that event is over. Have I understood it properly, Guruji?
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
So he's already introduced that topic here. And that's what I'm driving all of you towards, right? And So I'm not here to tell you, all of you, okay, from tomorrow onwards, we should increase the time we spend on doing social service. You don't need me to tell you that, right? We all know that already. So what I'm going to challenge you and saying, hey, if your idea of fulfillment rests on social service, that's not the type of fulfillment I'm talking
Not complete.
right. All right. Good. So we'll stop with that. It's been 2 hours. Thank you for putting up with, and we will continue this discussion. Premaji has collated all the questions you've given, and I saw the questions yesterday also. And all those questions, many of them are unanswered right now, like karma and moksha, and what happens, how can somebody get fulfilled. There are certain things I wanted to accomplish, but I never accomplished. But now I'm 70, 80. There's no chance of my accomplishing that. Can that person be fulfilled? Good questions, right? So we're going to address all those questions. But I had to make some inroads into this idea of fulfillment. So I had to spend a little time on the basics, and so that we can then rely on that to take our discussions forward. Okay?
Thank you, Guruji. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.
Thank you.